So I will say that at some point during the process, the camera shut off, which does sometimes happen when the energy is really powerful. Sometimes the camera will conk out. And so that section, luckily we still have our trusty backup recorder, so that section will not have video, but it will have audio, so it wasn't necessarily lost. But when you see the part of this video where suddenly you cannot see me anymore, it's because the camera zonked out, which is a good sign, not a bad sign. This is exciting. We're going to do a little bit of a healing technique. I didn't see that coming. I love the guardian angels. I never know what we're going to do when we turn the camera on. So right now we're going to start to do a little bit of a group healing exercise. If you're uncomfortable with the concept of group healing, why don't you skip this part of the video, and if there is a part of the video that comes after it, I'll put a little subtitle that tells you what timestamp to skip toward, and I'll also put it in the description. If you are comfortable with the concept of group healing, then let's give it a shot. Let's see how it goes. So right now what I'm starting to do is I'm starting to soften my own energy body and starting to merge in with the collective energy body for the Patreon community. Oh, my friends, there's a fair amount of pain in here. Oh, hey everybody. Ooh, some of us are hurting. Oh, well, I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that we're here together. Let's start to open up the base of the collective energy body, and let's start to draw up the toroid of energy through the collective energy body. And we won't do a full opening process like we do in a normal healing session, because the energy alignment is pretty okay right now. There we go, but we are going to merge in for all of us and ask the guardian angels to help us find whatever that collective trauma is that we've been starting to feel. Ooh, the eyes are really running. Whatever that collective past life trauma is, there we go, that we've been starting to feel for this particular group. And it really does feel linked to the topic of homesickness, of feeling out of place, of feeling lost. Let's start to find that trauma and start to work it out of the collective energy bodies. And let's ask the guardian angels, what are the errors, what are the mistakes that we can correct so that we can really pull this trauma up and out. What it feels like is there are a couple different flavors of mistake that as a community we all seem to make. And it's the opposite mistakes, which is so great to see. I had a teacher once who used to say that what kills people from being active in their own lives and in the world is this dichotomy between these two feelings, the feeling of it's too late, or I am too helpless, I can't make a difference because there's not enough time. It's essentially the idea of I cannot take action because there is a lack of something. And the other main reason why people don't take action is that they feel like I've already done so much. I've already done all the work that I need to do. I've already taken all the steps that I need to get. And this is what many people upstairs believe is the problem with the definition of starseeds, because in that definition people tend to assume an inherent superiority, and so they tend to assume that I am a very advanced presence, and so I've done all the things in terms of growing that I really need to do, and now my beneficial presence in the world is enough for me to meet my destiny, enough for me to meet my potential. And that isn't the case at all. All of us who have that kind of soul contract are being given an opportunity to qualify and to be presences with higher vibrations, to qualify to be presences with some elements of superiority, maybe, I guess is the term we could use. But we have not made it, or we wouldn't still be incarnating. And so I think that that is a confusion that can lead to people kind of considering themselves gods on earth, which is part of why I don't think I would define myself as a starseed, almost because I think it's bad for the people who call themselves that. But now let's start to correct those mistakes for all of us. There we go, for this whole community of the Patreon community. And if you're starting to feel a little feeling, if you're starting to feel warm, tingling sensation, that's good. That's a good sign. And this is just a little effort to start to help us heal from whatever that trauma is that leads to the feelings of homesickness, the feelings of really wanting to go back to where we were before. Merging the energy bodies together more and more and more deeply. There we go, and let's start to pull that trauma all the way out, really pulling that trauma out of the collective energy bodies, pulling that trauma out of the collective energy bodies. There we go, really pulling it all the way out. And now we're going to start to hand up that energetic trauma out through the top of these collective energy bodies, all the way up to those guardian angels who have taken responsibility for this Patreon community in a way that's really lovely, in a way that we're really grateful for. And let's start to hand it all the way up to them, really handing that stream of trauma up, up, up for this whole Patreon community. And now we can feel a lot of old layers of past life trauma starting to shake up, and let's start to flush them out. For this whole community, starting to allow those traumas to shake loose, gathering them up into the center of this communal energy body, really gathering them up, and let's start to pull them out the top of the head and really start to hand them up as high as we're able to get them to that second, or if possible third tier of guardian angels who is responsible for the Patreon channel. Wow, if energy is zonking out the air conditioning unit and it's zonking out the camera. So let's have that trauma come out for all of us, flushing the energy body clear. Beautiful, until we start to feel like there's less emptiness there. There we go. We're going to start to create a secondary healing space in between the hands for the soul fragments to come back into, for those missing pieces to come back into for each of us, and asking the individual guardian angels for all the members of this community, if they're willing, to start to send back the pieces of the soul fragments into this secondary healing space. We're not going to send any pieces of the soul directly back to anybody without cleaning them up first. So for those of you who aren't existing clients, what a soul fragment is, it's often created when there's a traumatic event, and a piece of the soul will feel like, this is too intense. I don't want to stick around for whatever this painful thing is, this scary thing is, this challenging thing is. And that piece of the soul will fragment off, and it will generally go and hide somewhere until the painful experience is done, and usually until that trauma has a chance to work its way up and out. And so in this case, we're working with the trauma that has caused intense feelings of homesickness for a place that sometimes it's hard to define, from places that we haven't been to yet. We're starting to work with that trauma collectively as a community. And we just got out one layer of trauma, and generally with a client healing session. There's an audio recording of their healing session, and they work with it, and each time they listen to that recording, they have another layer of healing, they have another experience, and then by the time they come back for their deepening session, they've really worked through those layers. And so if you want to watch this section of the video over and over again, that probably would be helpful. But let's really create that secondary healing space, and let's start to ask the guardian angels for the individual members of this community if they're willing to start to help us call back those soul fragments, those missing pieces. For this community as a whole, really starting to feel them come back. And we're going to start to clean them up, so we're not bringing back any debris, anything that's not helpful to hang on to. We're really starting to flush it, clean it up. There we go. So we're not bringing back other soul fragments. And then we're going to ask each member's personal guardian angels if they're willing to help us tune those soul fragments to the vibration of that individual member's destiny. So your destiny. Let's start to tune that enormous pile of soul fragments. There we go. To the feeling of the destiny, that joyful, highest vibration version of the life that you were meant to live. Let's start to bring those soul fragments to that exact vibration. And now asking the guardian angels for all of the individual members of this community if they're willing to send down some funnels of light. Because what I found is if we try to get soul fragments back into somebody's energy body without a way in which to get them in, it can get really jumbled. And so if we have, there we go, really high vibration energetic tool to use, that helps. And now we're going to ask all of these members' individual guardian angels to start to move those funnels to the top of each member's energy body who wants to participate. And now if you're really working with this part of the video, I suggest taking some deep breaths, starting to be in your body. If you don't want to have your soul fragments come back, you absolutely don't have to. We're never ever going to walk you down a doorway you don't want to go down. We're going to ask the guardian angels to help us start to pour those soul fragments back into their respective member of this community. Whoa, into their respective member of this group. Let's start to feel those soul fragments moving through the respective energy bodies, starting to squeeze out secondary trauma as the pieces start to come back. And let's get that secondary trauma out of those energy bodies. Really starting to collect it all in the central aspect of this community, and let's start to gather it up again and send it up again to those way up high guardian angels who are responsible for this group. Whoa, really asking them to clear away that secondary trauma. And now we're going to reach up, up, up to those guardian angels who are responsible for this group again. And we're going to ask them if we can hum a unifying frequency to bring all of the energy bodies of this group up to the same homogenized vibration within the soul, so that nobody feels like they're made up of jumbled Frankenstein monster parts. There we go. Now for this whole group, let's flush that pillar of energy, that enormous toroid of energy. Let's flush it up in the back of our energy bodies, our collective energy body. And start to send it out the top of the head, opening up the top of those doors in the top of the sky above each one of us to our own personal guardian angels, really fleshing it out. And it's surprising that it never once occurred to me that possibly, part of the point of these video channeled sessions isn't just to get answers from the guardian angels, but because this is a very well-defined community, maybe we could do, and that was just one small healing technique, but maybe we could do group healing sessions through these videos. Obviously, for most cases, I would recommend doing a one-on-one healing session first to get the big stuff out. But if you have things that you think other members of this community might share, like that feeling of hopelessness that starseed souls tend to have, if you have a universal thing that you would like healing for, you'd like to try a videoed group healing, I think that's wonderful. I think go ahead and comment that. Because I didn't see this heading in that direction at all, but I certainly feel better. Now, what we are going to do is to kind of close out the group healing section of this particular series. We are going to start to separate the energy bodies, sending everyone sending everyone else's energy back to their own spaces, their own bodies. So nobody is grabbing a hold of any other member of the community. There we go. And calling my energy back to me. And we're going to send up the energy of anybody who's not a member of this Patreon community, but who was touched by this work, maybe who was involved in this work, who had some kind of aspect of themselves reached by this work. And we're going to start to send the energy body, we're going to start to send those aspects of energy up to their guardian angels to be sorted and sent back to them. And again, let's separate so that everybody can have their own souls coming back to them, so everyone will feel just a little bit better, even if they know why with their conscious minds. Beautiful. Now let's ask the guardian angels if there's anything important for us to discuss further on this topic of star seeds, the idea of star seeds. What is the most important thing for us to know? Probably the most important thing to know is that there are a lot of different aspects of experience that people are defining as starseed experiences. Some of it is past life from this planet. Some of it is from other planets. Some of it is from interdimensional memories of the between life stage. But what all of it boils down to is, if you have the feeling that you are special or that you are different, probably you are. But what that means is we're all supposed to use what gifts we have to make this world more like it's supposed to be. Not to just feel good about ourselves. There isn't really much good that comes of just sitting around feeling good about ourselves. We've got to start to look for opportunities in which to help the world around us. And if we can't find them, we can make them. But I'm sure that you can find them. I have no doubt in my mind that we're surrounded by presences of need. Presences who have less resources or less ability than we do. So I have no doubt you'll be able to find somebody or something to help. Okay. Oh, I did not see that turning into a group healing session. Thanking the guardian angels so much for being present, for being willing to do this work with us today. Thank you so much. Whew. Goodness gracious. Again, if you have questions you'd like the guardian angels to answer, or like in this particular video, topics that you'd like to get some channeling on, by all means, please leave them in a comment. If you would like to try a group healing for any specific topic or feeling or challenge, please leave it in a comment. If you would like to try just a one-on-one healing session that's not a group session, that's just for you, that's outside of this videoed work, please do send me a message and we can work out a time for you. The technique we did today of the past life trauma and soul fragment retrieval is a pretty common technique in healing sessions. It's a one that you're likely to see at some point in your own personal healing process if we work together privately. And I think it's pretty representative of how it generally goes, especially how much I cried throughout. Okay, my friends, you did excellent work today. This video series definitely took turns that I did not see coming, which is exciting. That's happened so far, I think, every time we've sat down to film, which is just such a thrill. It's just such a delight to get to be surprised by the divine over and over again. I feel really grateful to get to do this. Okay, I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.